is that? Well, I'm live, but what is that glare on my... Oh, it's the lamp. Good evening. Hang on while I do something about... Usually go live on a Sunday night, but here I am. It has been so hot in Southern California. Really, my days, and then I can't sleep. My thumbnail that I put up is, of course, my late husband, Philip K. Dick, a photo that I took many years ago at our apartment on Cammy Lane in Fullerton. Yuck. Anyway, I'm here in beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. And pay no attention to the weirdness the camera is showing. The real world does not exist. And these black spots on my cheeks don't exist. Let me see if the flashlight will help. No, it's still showing things that are not. See? No black spot when there's light on me. I don't know what's doing that. Some kind of... It's too danged hot even now. Let me check the thermometer thingy. I'll be right back. It's over here. It is, only 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Almost the same thing. In progress on my garden. I'll be showing you the fig tree. I don't know what happened on my short. I was talking for almost a minute and it cut off after less than 20 seconds. Go figure. Tour of my yard once I clear things so it's easier to walk around. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's that hot. The house is warmer than the outside. I see nobody to talk to. There's all kinds of stuff. Cat at the door. No, it's one that wants out. Not happening. It's so hard to get those critters in these mountains. Dangerous critters. Anyway, my cooking channel will be making progress, but it's so hot, I'm not up to cooking. I don't even have air conditioning, and if I did, I couldn't afford to run it anyway. Air is so dry, a swamp cooler which blows air through cold water would give some humidity that we really need. Excuse me a minute. So I went grocery shopping. 3 bags with like ordinary groceries. Some milk, a round roast, which came to just under $8. It was a tiny one. That's one of me, so that's okay. What else did I get? Oh, toilet paper. That was the biggest expense. $10. And let's see, crackers that are not even Ritz. They're a generic brand that's over $80 for the food. The whole order was over $100. And let's see, or anything expensive. I did splurge on a small jar of plum sauce because I have my doggy bag from when a friend took me to lunch. And it's these Mushu chicken restaurant. They're basically chicken and veggies wrapped in a tortilla, and you dip them in plum sauce. Well, the doggy bag didn't include the sauce. Anyway, I'm in sticker shock just from buying groceries. Taurus in here somewhere. They're hanging out on the brick tile floor. I guess they're concrete tiles. They're imitation Spanish tile, not the real thing, but made to look like it. Window, because I thought I heard a car here. So, of a little tiny bit. Sorry I'm in the dark, but my lamp was making a huge glare on the screen. Anyway, the photo on the thumbnail, of course, is Philip K. There's stuff happening regarding his work. Apparently, Netflix is doing some new type serial, like weekly shows. Might want to follow up on the idea of the replicants revolting and wanting self-government and liberty and all that. And I just saw an article. One of his goals in life was to work with the director Richard Linklater, and he got his wish when he was in A Scanner Darkly, of one of rotoscope animation stars worked, so they had to cut costs wherever they could, and rotoscope worked better than trying to shoot live. Is here. Welcome in. Sharing these on X. When I share on other platforms, I just am not comfortable. Ridley Scott is kind of upset that he's lost control of the. He was the wrong director for Blade Runner. The continuity sucks. Cherry's novel Sighting. Is it like cybernetics or cyborgs? I think we're living in Orwell's 1984. He got it right, he just got the year wrong. Welcome in. I'm doing okay, but the heat getting up to 95 Fahrenheit. Yesterday, I think it was within a hair of 100. So that's well over 30. When the temperature fell to 85, I felt cool. Felt good. Freeman, cytine is about biologically manufactured clones. Uh-huh. Verizon. Move this thing. That might be a little better. No sound? That's impossible. My I hate Verizon. It's a P. Okay. Well, let's see. Freeman hears me. Oh well, I'm stuck with Verizon because all the others are worse. At least where I live. Oh man. You know, cytine kind of sounds like the author got some ideas from Blade Runner. Yeah, I moved the modem to see if that would take care of the lag. Well, if I were wealthy, I'd get Starlink. Starlink is simply the modern version of the old radio phones that used to be welded into your car if you could afford one. And it cost you money every time you made a call. My coffee's all gone, but I have, sorry, it's Starbucks. I got it at the grocery store. It's vanilla frappuccino. Interesting, Freeman. Cytine was started in 1983, but she'd started the series in 1973. Well, sometimes different people get the same ideas because it's just plain time for those ideas. Friends don't let friends drink Starbucks. I got it at the grocery store. I don't go to Starbucks. I'm not paying $10 for a cup of coffee. This is reasonable. It's just $2 or $3. And it really hits the spot on a hot day, but I almost never buy it. I guess I'm going to have to start making what's the word? Concentrated coffee. And make my own vanilla frappuccino. We don't have a Starbucks up here. We do have a coffee shop called Higher Grounds. It's owned and run by the Baptist Church. And they do have wireless, but it isn't very good. It is free as long as you buy a cup of coffee. So, Freeman, I just got the news from GoFundMe that your donation is being processed and I will get it. Your friend was almost attacked by a shark? Whew! I've heard about a shark hanging around near San Diego. It attacked someone. I think it attacked someone on a paddleboard. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to the news unless it's really hitting close to home. Anyway, I did promise to come online more often. I just am not able to set up a schedule because I never know when I'll have an internet connection that works. Well, GoFundMe was probably suspicious about the size of your donation and wanted to make sure that it cleared your bank. I like the way you wrote that. I'm not going to say it out loud, though. A 6-gill shark, and it was trying to get the filthy human to help it. It was wrapped in fishing line and being dragged. Well, I hope your human friend helped the poor shark. It's amazing how dolphins and sharks and all kinds of critters will turn to humans for help. Squirrels do it too. If a young squirrel loses its mother too soon, it'll actually follow humans around hoping to get adopted. Freeman says sharks are like cats. They really are. Yeah, I guess cats might bite you too. I'm really upset. A few days ago, I found a tail in my yard, just the tail. Today I saw the cat that lost the tail. She's still alive. Can't get near her. She's either a stray or a feral. That's so sad. Must have had a tussle with a raccoon. Freeman has a fish veterinary kit. Cool. Well, fortunately for me, I'm not going to go hungry. The food banks do really well by us, but I'm in shock. A little over $80, and I bought a few things at the grocery store, plus about $26 for the non-food items. some plastic wrap and baggies and a couple, just two cake pans, the disposable kind, because I've promised some people a lasagna and a pineapple upside down cake because they haul my trash for free. Yeah, I'd love to be a multimillionaire, but it doesn't matter. My son is doing well and hopes to come visit soon, but he helps me when he can, but he doesn't have much money either. He, for example, he buys classic cars and fixes them up to resell them because he needs the money. Hang on while I get some water. It's empty. Wrong, yeah, wrong mug. This one. Oh, Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? Would it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was a meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? You coming, Smokey? No. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? Okay, enough singing. I don't know how much you could hear. Well, yeah, Phil, at least at the end, had $1 million in the bank when he died. Unfortunately, the IRS took tons of it. You know, inheritance taxes. He'd already paid income taxes on it, but when you die, they take it again. But he had only a short time to enjoy his wealth. So he bought a new car, nothing fantastic, just a Mercury Capri. For some reason, Delta Dawn was on my mind. I'd been humming it and singing it while puttering around. So I looked it up, and the composer who wrote it said that he was always embarrassed to be seen in public with his mother because she was kind of weird, and he regretted it. Anyway, because the IRS changed the brackets for what percentage your income tax will be in the middle of the year without bothering to tell people. My son's deductions from his paychecks were not enough to cover his taxes. So he had to hire an attorney to negotiate with the IRS because he can't pay them. He doesn't have that kind of money. He spent it on a monthly basis paying bills. And it wasn't tons of money either. But he worked a lot of overtime, which put him in a higher bracket, so he actually ends up with less money than if he had not worked overtime. Oh, Freeman says Robert E. Howard was a tough guy who used to box everyone he could start a fight with. Then his mother died and he couldn't stand it and committed suicide 3 days later. Huh. I should know who Robert E. Howard is. I'm pretty sure he was an author. I've puttered around today. Yesterday I didn't do much of anything, but today I went through more stuff that needed to be sorted into trash, keep, and either sell or give away. Oh, Conan the Barbarian, of course. I've never actually read a Conan book, but I did like the movie. Yeah, Robert E. Howard wrote Conan. All right. Yeah, I think everyone's struggling right now, even people who are relatively wealthy. Of course, they just can't buy a new Mercedes or another mansion. I'll tell you, even if I had the money, I would not want a mansion. I think they're a waste of money. Why have room for 10 or 20 people in one house? Then you have to put up with people. Although I do wish I had a bigger kitchen. The one I've got is too small for 2 people to be in it at the same time. Well, you can be happy, or at least find happy moments without tons of money. And I suspect that those who are wealthy, powerful, and elite are not very happy. I mean, look at how many end up hooked on drugs, dying young, or ending up wishing they had died young because they're old and decrepit. Oh, the Vanderbilt Mansion in Long Island. It would make a great museum. Around here near Pasadena, we have a place called the Huntington Library. And it is a mansion that Huntington lived in. Huntington Beach is named after him. He was extremely wealthy, collected works of art, and supported the the Audubon Society. He had both stuffed birds and pictures of birds, and one heck of a library, including a Gutenberg Bible. Freeman says it was a museum full of dead fish. Oh, and gardens. Each one has a different theme. The one I remember most clearly was a desert garden with a cactus. There were also roses and other things. Their gardens are more famous than the books. I did go there and see the famous paintings of Pinky and the Blue Boy. And apparently, the story of those two paintings being connected by the fact that one artist said you couldn't make a painting without a red or pink in it. So the other one painted the blue boy. Apparently that's horse pucky, but it's a great story. Pinky is a girl in a white dress with a pink sash, and the blue boy is a boy in all blue, knickers and coat. I think Gainsborough painted Pinky. I don't remember the name of the artist who painted the blue boy. Oh man, that's awful. An awful story, Freeman. I'm not going to read it out loud. Yeah, seppuku. We call it something else, which it isn't. Can't think. Harakiri, we call it. It's really seppuku. I can't pronounce either one of them correctly. And I keep thinking of the fictional character, Harry Carey. Oh, well, anyway, it's late. Seppuku, yeah, is the ritual. Oh, and harikuri is the cut? Okay. Oh man, am I tired, but not sleepy. My muscles are tired. Anyway, since I put Phil's picture in the as the thumbnail, I thought I should talk about him. When I met him, he didn't have a decent pair of jeans to wear, and I was constantly having to patch them because they were torn. And his shirts didn't fit him properly, but they were all he had. Uh, um, I didn't have much either. I mean, almost everything I owned fitted into 2 cardboard boxes. But in one of them, I found a $10 bill and we felt like we were rich. We went to Disneyland. At that time, you paid admission and then you would buy tickets for the rides. We could only afford one ticket. I think we went on the Matterhorn. Oh, sheesh. Uh-oh. Loss of signal. Well, I said, let's try this over here. What I said was I didn't have much either. I found I had like 2 cardboard boxes and a couple of odd things. I had owned a small portable typewriter, but apparently Mom stole it when she moved out of the house. Shortly after I moved in with Phil, Mom left Dad. Anyway, I found a $10 bill in one of my boxes, and we felt like we were rich. And one time we went to Disneyland. At that time, you paid for admission and then you bought tickets for the rides. And we could only afford one ticket. So we went on the Matterhorn, which is like a toboggan ride in water. It's basically a very gentle roller coaster. Yeah, my little portable typewriter disappeared. When I went to get my things, it wasn't there. And when Mom, after I moved in with Phil, Mom left Dad, and she must have taken it with her. And the devil's sister. Anyway, Phil had a panic attack at Disneyland, ran out into the parking lot and sat on the hood of Tim Power's car. It was really Tim's mother's car. We were all poor then. Tim always had holes in the sleeves of his shirts, long-sleeved shirts. He was a student at Cal State Fullerton. Wow. And then we heard that Dad was selling the house and Mom was going to send my sister's cat to the pound. So Phil and I got Tim to drive us over there and get the cat. And that was Pinky. Pinky, who Phil thought was a magical cat. I don't know why he had the panic attack, but he did have agoraphobia, so it was quite unusual for him to be able to go to Disneyland. Well, this was before the 73 oil embargo, when all the OPEC countries decided to cut production and increase prices. Gasoline went up to 75 cents a gallon, and I didn't think I could afford it. That was quite a shock. It had been 25 cents a gallon. I got itches. Okay. But no, this was in 72, and I think the oil thing was 74, not 73. Might have been 75. Well, I didn't go to Paris with Phil, but Joan, who did go with him, said he was awful, anxious about everything, and his luggage and so forth. That's empty. There, here. And after they got home, she left him. She thought she was the dark-haired girl that he'd always written about. But he made it clear in his book, the dark-haired girl, he was talking about every dark-haired girl he'd met looking for the right one, and he thought I was the right one. Well, we were struggling the whole time financially, but we made it work. And we made sure our son was never deprived. We weren't wealthy, but if it came down to I could have new clothes or my son could have new clothes, my son got the clothes. Oh, time travel, yeah. Apparently, inanimate objects can be made to travel through time, but if they did it with a living thing, it would cause death. Interesting. But Phil talked about orthogonal time in the sense that there's a realm, for example, where God is, that you're outside of time looking down at it, and you can choose to look at any particular part of our linear time. Well, when I was very young, I had the sense that I knew things because I had lived before. I didn't really remember a past life, but I had that sense of having been an adult. So I had some common sense before any experience would have taught it to me. What you doing, Tora? Don't sit on my phone. And don't sit on the ice pack. It's uncomfortable. And you'll poke holes in it. That's a good kitty cat. Tora's saying hello. But she's in the dark. Let's see if she'll show up on the camera. Nope. Sorry. I had to turn off the lamp. It was just making a great big sunburst on the poor camera. So I kind of believe in reincarnation, but I'm not sure how it works. Time travel? I think in our dreams we can enter the past mentally, but not physically. Ah, vanilla frappuccino. It's gotten warm. I'll put it in the fridge and start the coffee pot, the tea kettle, so I can make some instant coffee. Oi. Okay, we're back to the fridge. And then up to the tea kettle. Rack. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Oh, I should put the ice pack in the freezer so it'll get cold. Ah. Well, Smoky Sue, do you really want in? Or are you just bugging me? Huh? Come on, kitty cat. You coming? Hurry up. What? Okay, I have Tora Tutu and Smoky Sue. So 3C and Sweetie Pie are outside. Well, Freeman, and all the stories about going back in time and investing and all that, it ends badly. Oh, I remember that when Gus Grissom lands his capsule, there was something wrong with the design and it started filling with water when it landed in the ocean. Vietnam was awful. Why is it that our politicians keep getting us into wars? I don't know. I guess there's a lot of money to be made in war. I don't know about plot device. I think most of the wealthy and powerful elites are very unhappy because they thought that tons of money would buy them happiness, and that isn't how life works. I'm happy when my daffodils bloom. Oh, and I'm really jazzed. My fig tree survived Snowmageddon. It's all covered with leaves now and happy. That made me very happy, and it didn't cost me anything. But I'm unhappy that my grapevine died in Snowmageddon. Oops, tea kettle's calling me. Be right back. Hi, Smoky Sue. Are you pretty Sue? Atkin. Evil back. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? Would it be a favorite rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he wasn't meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? Boy, here we go. Ah, Lord God. I'm not starving. And I had a ride to the grocery store today and help getting through the store. Ah. Oh. I guess I'm finally getting sleepy. It's 12 minutes past 10 at night. And my health insurance claims that they provide transportation to medical appointments, but they get me there late for my appointment, and then I end up waiting for an hour after my appointment is done. So it really is not acceptable. Especially when the medical offices they send me to are nowhere near anything else. I can't go get a cup of coffee or a hamburger while I'm waiting. I'm just sitting there bored out of my mind and anxious to get home and do something useful. So anyway, heck with that. I get friends to drive me. They also claim they'll drive me to the grocery store once a month, but I haven't tried that because I can't imagine waiting an hour on the sidewalk with ice cream, waiting for my ride to come and take me home. It's easier to take the stinking bus. It's cheap too. I don't know why I decided to go live tonight. I just did. No particular reason. Oh, and for the longest time, early on with Phil, he was scared to death to drive. And I guess that persisted. He did go up to Northern California once to visit his ex-wife, Anne. I don't know why, but he got someone else to drive in his car, but he didn't drive. He chose his place in Santa Ana because he could walk to everything: groceries, banking, shopping. And he still didn't go very far, but he was right across the street from an Episcopal church, and he spent a lot of time talking to the priest there. Well, our buses aren't like the ones in the city. Um, they're less comfortable, and the routes are all, like Los Angeles, the bus goes up and down the same street over and over. Not here. They wind around to here and then they wind around to there. And on top of that, sometimes you wait an hour to transfer to another route to get where you're actually going. Phil simply had terrible phobias. He was afraid of everything. Sometimes he couldn't open the door. He could go to the door, but he couldn't open it. Or he'd have a letter to mail, and there was a mailbox 2 or 3 doors down from our house. He couldn't walk that far. He'd get all scared and run back home. Well, Anne pulled a gun on Phil and was locked up against her will on a 72-hour hold for crazy people. So he was just paying her back. Phil, hi, Philip, welcome in. Phil was afraid of everything. It's called agoraphobia, literally fear of the marketplace in Greek. He was afraid of being with people. He was afraid of being alone. He was afraid of staying home and afraid of leaving the house. And sometimes he couldn't talk on the phone. If it was ringing, he couldn't answer it. And if he needed to make an appointment, he couldn't call the doctor because the telephone scared him so much. No. The marketplace is the agora, the center of town where people meet and buy and sell things and talk about politics. It isn't that kind of marketplace. It's where the community gathers to interact with other people. He once described it as um, being like a Greek philosopher, an ancient Greek, I forget which one, but he was afraid to go out, the Greek guy was afraid to go outside because the seagulls would pick up clams and then drop them onto the rocks to break them open so they could eat the clams. And this ancient Greek philosopher was bald, and he was afraid the seagulls would mistake his head for a rock and drop a clam on him. Well, that's possible about the phone. And he was spied on. But that's another story. A lot of it, his insecurity, was that he had a very insecure childhood. On 2 different occasions, his mother put him in boarding school. And at one of those schools, a teacher molested him. He told me about it. And his mother sent him to a child psychologist, and child psychologist asked Phil if he liked playing with dirty boys. And Phil was like 7 years old. He said, "What, you mean they don't wash their hands?" He didn't know what the guy was talking about. But as an adult, he understood that the psychologist was accusing him of being homosexual. And that was a horrible thing at the time. You know, it was not socially acceptable. Well, remember one of Phil's stories? The telephone was actually some kind of alien creature and it tried to strangle the guy. That maybe that's what he was afraid of. I forget the title of the story. But they land on Mars and it's inhabited by these creatures that mimic objects in your surroundings. Oh, who's Stephen Fry, Philip? I don't know who that is. Anyway, Phil's mother simply was not affectionate. It's an English thing. Her parents were from England. She didn't mean to be mean or to let Phil down. Oh, Stephen Fry is a British comedian and actor. And many comedians get into comedy because they've had bad childhood experiences. Comedy is a way of healing the hurt, the harm that has been caused. Anyway, Dorothy was a very nice lady, but she had no clue how to raise an insecure child. Phil needed lots of hugs. And he didn't get them from his mother, but he did get them from his grandmother, Dorothy's mother. Phil called her Meemaw. So I guess it isn't just a British thing. I don't know what a pins petition is, Freeman. You ran away at age 11? I left home at 17, 1 week before Christmas. And I eventually came back briefly. I was going to either join the Navy or go to college in Idaho, far away from California and my parents. And then I met Phil. Yeah, comedy isn't funny anymore. It's just when it is funny, somebody gets offended. Okay, the pin petition. Oh, sort of parole or probation for a juvenile. Yeah, well, anyway, I left home, met some strangers who just happened to be decent people, got a job in testing electronics parts for the aerospace industry. And then Nixon cut the space program and the military. And the entire company was crashing. So, last in, first out, I lost my job. And when I finally didn't have 25 cents to buy a pack of cigarettes, that's what it cost back then, I called my brother Steve and asked him to drive me home, and he did. And Mom was pissed off. She'd been sleeping in my bedroom rather than with my father, her husband. And when I came back, she had to sleep in the marriage bed. I didn't understand why she married someone she had no respect for, and was constantly reminding us she didn't love our father. She loved her first husband, who agreed to a divorce because he was tired of her hitting him. Well, anyway, turns out she was such a bad, irresponsible mother that my grandmother and my aunt, Mom's sister, had been raising my oldest brother, Rick, the son of her first husband, the one she loved, which I guess is why she was always hitting him. They were going to petition the court to give them custody because Mom was too busy going out and partying to take care of her child. Oh, he wasn't that great a husband, Philip. He was bipolar, and he went on to remarry and stay married till, for years and years, until his second wife died from cancer. But he wasn't that great. My oldest brother visited his biological father and stayed for a while and told stories. The thing is, in order to keep custody of her child, the one she didn't even take care of properly, she married my father so she could keep Rick. No, it wasn't an arranged marriage, but it might as well have been. Granny liked my dad. He was a nice guy, unlike the first husband. Back then, whoops, sorry, flashlight. You had to have a reason for a divorce. So Mom told the judge, well, he doesn't pay any attention to me. He only wants to listen to the radio. So the other woman was the radio. And when they got divorced, he got the radio. But it's neat. I have a feeling even then Mom was probably cheating. She cheated on Dad quite often. Mm. Yeah. Oh, what's even worse is if her child accidentally let the cat out of the bag, not knowing or understanding what was going on. She'd go on a campaign to make sure everyone thought that her child was insane and hallucinating. That included both me and my brother Steve. Rick was very unhappy man, and alcoholic. Drank himself to death, and he was only 50. Yeah, the evil radio, the other woman. Gosh. Well, yeah, no kidding. And Mom taught us manners, like please and thank you and all that, but not social skills. She made sure we couldn't have friends. If a friend came to the house, she'd make that friend uncomfortable and unwilling to visit again. But I usually had one friend. Well, after starting in 6th grade, I befriended the playground bully, Diana the whale. People picked on her just because she was overweight. She had a thyroid problem. It wasn't her fault. She wasn't pigging out just because, you know. Anyway, one of my first days on the playground, I started to climb the monkey bars, and Diana kicked me in the shin. And instead of fighting her over the monkey bars, I made friends with her. And her parents were thrilled because she'd never had a friend before. Freeman says his ex-mother chased his girlfriend away. That's really mean. Oh, the throbbing typewriter in Naked Lunch. Yeah. Well, it's hard for me to read about mean mothers because I had one. I have to take it in small doses. Anyway, Mom really was the devil's sister. Ah, Lord, I've been on for an hour and 20. How about that? Just on a whim. And here I have Freeman and Philip. New York City's finest was here, but I guess the internet wasn't being kind to him. Oh, that's brilliant, Freeman. After I hit puberty, Mom kept yelling at me, and because I was not having sex. She'd even pick out guys she thought I should sleep with. One in particular, I wanted to tell her and I was scared to, but I wanted to say, Mom, he's gay. But if I'd said that, it just would have started a pointless argument because you see, Mom was always right and I was always insane and hallucinating. Well, Dad's second wife wasn't much better. Her daughters got married as soon as they could in order to move out of her house. But I actually introduced her to my dad because I knew they'd hit it off, and they did. They were married till he died, and she had to go into care. Very, very, very nice home. Dad left enough for her to be well taken care of, but she was definitely had Alzheimer's. But she wasn't that bad to me. Just like other people's kids loved my mom. She was only that way with her own children. We had to be little machines doing exactly what she said, or reading her mind and doing what she wanted without her telling us what she wanted. But other people's kids didn't have to. You see, her purpose in having children was so that people would say how wonderful she was because her children were so well behaved. Yeah, it's amazing how many Hollywood actors were gay. The big stars. I'm not going to name names because I'll probably get it wrong. And it's like, it's okay to be gay, but I know you aren't going to sleep with me. You know? So what? Mom was nuts. And, you know, she died young. She was 58. And I'm convinced it was suicide. The things she did in the last few days really looked like she was planning. But only in hindsight. I didn't catch it before she died. Oh, yeah. Peter Lawford and Rock Hudson. That you're right there, Freeman. But now it's like, who cares? It's about time, you know. I don't care who the actor sleeps with. But the FBI used to deny security clearance to gay men. I'm not sure whether that applied to women. Yeah, well, stuff happens. People can be really strange. Phil at least had one friend in high school, and that was Ray Nelson. But when he came home from high school, he was required to be as quiet as possible because his mother, when she got home from work, would sit in bed and read a book every day. But it turns out the books she was reading were Reader's Digest condensed books, not exactly a 1,000-page novel, you know. But she'd read one of those every day, and had to be super quiet when he came home so he wouldn't disturb her while she was reading. That's a real caring mother. Anyway, he'd go down in the basement with a friend and they'd listen to the radio. At one time, Phil was actually a DJ on an FM radio station that played classical music. So either that's the source of his love for classical music, or his love for classical music led him to be that DJ. Well, the casting couch is bad no matter who is involved. It's just not right. Yeah, I guess you'd have to know enough about it, but Phil was so good at faking things. He'd read a couple of book reviews and speak about the book as if he had read it, and the same with movies. He could read books, no problem, but he had trouble going to a movie theater. Okay, the water and coffee are catching up with me, so I'll be back in a minute. Hang in there. Hobble, hobble. Oh, I'm almost back. Ah, not to complain, but I'm going to complain. I'm in pain. I definitely have to get a handicap placard for when I need to park close to the post office, or rather, my friend needs to park close so I don't have to walk very far. So I'm having real trouble walking. Oh, Lord. I don't know. I don't know tons about literature or classical music, but I enjoy them. I learned the most about literature when I had to teach it. And, well, Philip, going number one doesn't take a lot of time. I don't think Phil read any self-help books. He did read a book that was written by Harry Stack Sullivan, a psychiatrist who happened to be schizophrenic. Let's turn off the flashlight and save the batteries. Wow. It hurts. My back hurts. My legs hurt. My feet hurt. But I got a few things done today. You see, before Snowmageddon, I put a bunch of stuff out in the driveway, but up on pallets and under tarps. Things to sort later, so the things I was planning to toss out were mixed up with things I planned to keep. And today I went through some of them, and I have stacks of things to toss out and a few really good things to keep. Yeah, Harry Stack Sullivan, amazing man. He decided that maybe people who are paranoid are really reading your mind. They think you're out to get them because you are. You just didn't say it out loud. So he was walking through the wards and he'd think about a particular patient who had been diagnosed as paranoid, and he would start thinking, oh, you're such a scumbag, I'm going to beat you up, and things like that. And the patient would confront him and ask him why he said those things. And he had not said them out loud, he only thought them. Yeah, poor Freeman has aches and pains. Are those doctors ever going to help you? Philip must have done a search for Harry Stack Sullivan. He also read quite a bit about Carl Jung. I'm not sure that he ever read what Carl Jung wrote, except for the preface or introduction to the I Ching, where Jung talked about all that woo-woo stuff being real. Yeah. Freeman says Kurt Vonnegut's son went crazy while on a cross-country trip, and then he became a psychologist. Well, many, if not most, psychologists go into that field because they want to help themselves. They know that they have problems. Surgery in August, Freeman. Hope all goes well and it fixes your poor shoulder. Well, I know that he was familiar with Jung enough to know that Jung said flying saucers are real. Phil was interested in flying saucers because someone, he never told me who, but someone told him a story about being in Africa. I think South Africa, but I'm not, no, because it was in the jungle, somewhere in the jungle in Africa. And a flying saucer landed, and the guy who saw it stayed out of sight, but watched, and this ladder came down from the flying saucer, which was sitting on like a tripod, and some very human men wearing all black climbed down the ladder. And this, well, Phil told the story in 72, so it happened in the 60s, I'm sure. Philip says Zimbabwe. Really? How do you know? Oh, to Phil, all black sounded like the CIA. Whoever they were human. There was I think Phil read, what was it called? The jet-propelled sofa or jet-propelled couch, I forget which. The true story of Cordwainer Smith, a science fiction author, wrote all these books about aliens and other planets. And it turns out that Smith thought that he was writing a real history, that everything he wrote was not fiction, but just a reality. Yeah, well, we didn't read Hynek's book about UFOs either. Let me check on the jet-propelled. The jet-propelled. Oh, come on. ED. I'll try couch first, because, the psychiatrist has you. Yeah, the jet-propelled couch. Oh, there was a movie in 1957. The book is by Robert Mitchell Lindner, who was a real psychiatrist who really treated Cordwainer Smith, but he, here, I'll show you the screen. He used a fake name in his book. I've read a little bit. Oh, it's showing me in the corner. That wasn't nice. Let's get the about part onto the screen for you. There was a movie. I did not know that. I'll bet Phil saw the movie. In 1957, I was 3 years old, so I definitely did not see it. Burgess Meredith. Oh, directed it. Peter Lorre was in it. Humph. Interesting. Very interesting. That's just a quick Google search. Okay, I know that UFOs are real, but I don't know what they are. Okay, let's take that down. I've got to get going soon. I'm actually finally sleepy. Anyway, I recommend Harry Stack Sullivan, and I also recommend Lindner's book, The Jet Propelled Couch. So you guys have a great, great evening. Next day, next week, next year. Let's see, I gotta type oh, I'm in the dark, so I have a flashlight pointed at the keyboard. Thank you all for coming in, and have a great day. There we go. Here, give me my mouse. Oh, there's an H.P. Lovecraft book about an ancient city of aliens. Oh, I love Peter Lorre. Of course, he's dead, but he was a great actor. And not as appreciated as he should have been. I keep thinking of the scene in The Maltese Falcon where he's at the detective's desk and he wants to search. And finally, what's his name? Finally says, okay, go ahead. I won't stop you. That's going to bug me all night if I don't look it up. Why do I forget the names of famous actors? Humphrey Bogart. It is an unusual name. Oh, well, Lovecraft had quite the imagination. See you guys, and thank you all. Good night.